Can you say that you've attained any greater certainty in terms of priorities of how renewable energy can be used in our world? So for instance, I mean, an obvious thing from my perspective is transportation,
right?
Okay, but you know, then there's industry. I don't actually know which has the greatest impact on our world, but maybe there's another area too that renewable energy or some other kind of technology can benefit the world in a meaningful way. How does that? How does that work for you?
Well, it's a good question indeed. Let's take transportation. In the United States, 40% of the energy consumed is transportation. Most of the rest of the 60% is heating and otherwise managing the air conditioning and so forth in buildings. But transportation is a big sector of this. We obviously are migrating to electric vehicles. That's certainly a good thing. How are we getting there? How are we getting there is changing very quickly as well. You have the OEMs making, I believe, sincere efforts to ramp up production. You have the Nissan Leaf and the Mitsubishi i-MiEV and the BMW Mini E and the Chevy Volt, famously. The car companies are going there because they have to. I don't believe they're going there because they want to, but that's just, you know, my speculation, and it doesn't matter. The fact that they're going there is a good thing, and they will be helped or surrounded by a great number of startups, obviously Tesla being the most obvious in our current news today. So transportation is a big answer to that question. And certainly, and of course the consumption of energy varies by country. In some other places, transportation is negligible. In other places, it's much more important. But certainly, transportation is a big deal there. And there are a couple chapters here on electric transportation. In particular, there's an interview with the people at Honda having to do with the fuel cells. There's an interview with the president of the Electric Drive Transportation Association, its own little lobby in Washington. So I've tried to attack that from different perspectives as well.
All right. Well, then, in terms of just transportation, is electric vehicles most practical next step? Or when you mention fuel cells, I mean that's bringing another type of very diverse technologies.
Yes and no. A fuel cell car is an electric car. Having said that, so fuel cells and batteries are just two different ways. One's a chemical chemical reaction. The other's the actual consumption of a chemical in the process. But they're two. It's an interesting. People think of them as entirely different things, largely because of the fueling infrastructure. So, for instance, if you really want hydrogen stations over a landmass of 3.5 billion or 3.5 million square miles, that's going to cost trillions and trillions of dollars. So we need to confront that. The hydrogen people, of course, would say, well, yeah, but we can't snap our fingers and have ubiquitous fast charging either. I believe that electric vehicles are where this is going. I do believe that we have an approximately equal adoption of electric vehicles. In other words, the fact that we're replacing 230 million cars on the road in the United States alone. That's not going to happen overnight, nor is ubiquitous fast charging or battery swapping or what have you. So I believe most of the informed people I've discussed this with have convinced me that there's a fairly reasonable parallel between electric vehicle adoption and the charging infrastructure. So I think this is going to happen without an awful lot of bumps in it.